I don't know. I can make fun of you for never going to Paulo brunch. We did Paulo brunch.
Yeah, you could definitely. That's my shtick now.
It is. It's,
I'm
it's
running
like
with
it's like
it.
your thing.
We're just not brunch people, my wife and I. Like, I wish we were, but like we both
Yeah.
we like get to that point where like, should we book it? And it's kind of like, you know what? She'd rather go run around on the deck or go get a massage, and I'm happy doing something else. And
Yeah, we go like once a year to brunch, and this was it.
so yeah, you can make fun of me anytime you want. I'm here for it. So
All right.
Well, hello and welcome once again to the DCL podcast, where we're inviting you to sit back, relax, and we'll be on our way shortly.
Well, welcome back to the DCL podcast, your podcast to help you cruise a little smarter. And it's always fun to catch back up with people that have been longtime listeners and contributors to our show. And it's been a while since I've seen a lot of your families. I've followed you guys all through kind of the COVID lockdown and getting out and skiing and everything like that. But I'd like to welcome back to the show all the way from Utah. How are you doing today, Cobi?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me back, Steve.
I was excited when you reached out. I was excited to see you and your wife finally get back out and cruising after the ship started sailing again. I'll let you kind of introduce. Well, before we do that, let's for people who haven't heard you in a while, why don't you kind of give a background of your family and kind of your cruising history?
Yeah, I typically cruise with my wife, Tiffany. We've been married 19 years. This was an anniversary cruise for us, actually. And we have 4 kids that we usually go sailing with. Our oldest is 17. Then we've got a 13, a 9-year-old, and our little girl is 7. They haven't been on the ship in quite a while, but we were lucky enough to get out this time. In fact, we were we went last year and were one of the first cruises to sail post lockdown. And I believe we were on the same ship with Christy, but I can neither confirm nor deny that. But I remember a trip report that Christy talked about when we were on it last year. And I was like, we were on that same cruise. We never met up. But yeah, I've actually been, we've been a Disney family since we first got married, and even before that, and been cruising with Disney before it was Disney Cruise Line with the big red boat. And then about 20 plus years ago, I had some friends who were cast members on the ships and got to go on a few non-rev cruises with them and kind of got hooked. And once we got married, we started cruising with the kids as they grew up.
I'd have to go back and find that. But I remember talking to you about that. I was totally shocked. I didn't realize that they had non-revs in cruise. You get non-rev on cruise lines. And I think that is so cool that you were able to kind of see those spaces where your friends worked and everything else.
Yeah, it was really fun.
I'm just going to keep this like super casual tonight, but I'm going to ask a bunch of questions as we go along. Is your 17-year-old as excited about cruising still?
Is he excited about anything anymore? 17-year-old boys, it's hard to find out what they're truly excited about other than girls. But yeah, we've been planning various iterations of a family cruise for about 4 years now and having to push it back for various reasons. And so I think he is excited about it to get back on board. But we've got another trip planned later this month. It's not a cruise, that we're going to a surf resort down in Puerto Vallarta, but he's way more excited about than that.
North of PV?
Yeah. Between PV and Sayulita.
Sayulita, yeah. I know a lot of people go up there. Some great surfing up there. So good on you guys. Hope you guys have just a wonderful trip there. So let's turn to this cruise. It was an anniversary sailing. First of all, congratulations.
Thanks.
19 years is a good amount of time spent together, and you guys have raising a family together.
17 years of married bliss.
Yeah. Oh, wait a minute. I said 19, 17. I apologize.
No, it's 19, but 17 years of married bliss.
Gotcha. Okay. That's 2 years, right? Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
just kidding.
Well, did you guys plan anything special for this cruise ahead of time? Did you let Disney Cruise Line know that it was your anniversary?
We did, yeah. We let them know it was our anniversary, and it was actually Tiffany's birthday a couple weeks before that as well. So they were nice enough to, do a couple nice things for our anniversary and celebrate that, as well as Tiffany's birthday on the ship. It was just a couple weeks after our anniversary, so we were kind of holding out, celebrating until we got on board.
This cruise leaves out of Miami. You guys did a 3-night on the Disney Dream, you sailed to Castaway, Nassau, and then back to Miami. Had you been to Miami before?
Yeah, actually a couple times. We'd been on the Wonder, the Magic, and now the Dream out of Miami.
Oh, so you're
And
like the Miami expert.
yes, call me Mr. Miami Vice. And we've actually got another trip with the family planned for Miami for spring break next year. So I guess that's our favorite port because we've been there almost as much as Port Canaveral. Just seems to work out that way.
And the listeners can't see this, but you got the Crockett kind of beard kind of going too.
Yes, the scruff going on, the long 80s hair. Time for a haircut.
I love it. So, being closer to the West Coast, do you prefer Miami over San Diego?
I love flying in and out of San Diego, and it's super easy to get on a ship from Salt Lake to San Diego. We can get there very, very quickly, but there are a lot of directs to Fort Lauderdale and Miami from here. So it's a little bit longer on the plane, but really easy to get to for a weekend trip.
So we were talking ahead of time, and I know that you guys just got in late and stayed at a hotel near the airport for the most part. For people who haven't been to Miami before, do you have any advice for maybe families as far as some different places you guys may have stayed before?
You know what? We very rarely actually stay in Miami because we typically link it with a Disney World trip. And so we'll rent a car and drive down in the morning, or we'll take a red eye and fly and drive down in the morning from Orlando. So we've stayed in Miami just a few times, and both of them have just been at airport hotels that were really, really close by. I will say though, we did spend the day in Miami afterwards, and the Omni right by the port is a great hotel. They've got a shuttle to the port. We spent some time there afterwards. It's really easy to get to and from everything downtown. The Brightline train, which should be done really soon, would be a great way to get in and out of Miami. And there's lots of hotels close by the station there.
I saw where they're doing some testing. I haven't really kept up with it as much, but I did see where they're doing some testing right now as far as in the Orlando area for Brightline, but I'm not sure how it's, panning out yet, still to go all the way down to the ports.
Yeah, I think they finished the line, but I think they still have a lot of testing to do. They're saying Q1, who knows?
They just opened up the internet. This is like a total side note. They just opened up the international airport. The new building is where all the international flights are going into and out of Orlando now, and JetBlue is down there. And that's where the train line from Miami comes into. It's been fascinating kind of to watch it, but it's been a long time for them to open it up. And for those who may have missed Christy's cruise report on her Virgin Voyages cruises, if you're sailing out of Miami, and you're driving down from Orlando, one of her recommendations was, and also Lake, was to, as you get down to Miami, if you've got a family like yours, to get in the HOV lanes, because it cuts down on the craziness of the traffic as you get to the port.
That's a good call, because we will be driving down next time we go down. So yeah. Good to know.
Yeah, try that. I guess it cuts out some of the craziness of all the drivers going in and out. The one time we stayed in Miami too, we stayed at like some random Hampton Inn, and so nothing to really talk about there, just nearby the ports. But so getting back on the Dream, you guys have been on the Dream before and sailing out of Miami, a little bit different as far as the cruise ports goes. Like Disney doesn't have their own dedicated cruise terminal. I think they usually leave from the same one. When we got on the Magic, I remember we didn't walk into the atrium. We kind of came in like down on the aft part of the ship and then walk down into it. How does the Dream work?
Dream, you actually walk into the atrium, which is great. You're right. The cruise terminal leaves not lots to be desired there. It's pretty basic. It feels just like you're at a 70s airport. There wasn't a lot of great communication. There's two entrances to the port. One was for families traveling with children that needed to be tested at the port, and then the other entry was for those vaccinated that had already been tested and cleared. And there wasn't great markers on which way we should go, so we're in line with all the kids, and they're like, "Why are you over here?" We're like, "I don't know. No one tells us where to go. We're just trying to get in onto the ship."
We're used to having our kids with us, so we don't know what to do without them. I love it. So once you guys got to the ship, what was it like getting back on the Dream?
Oh, it was great. Like I said, we'd been there about a year before. And so it felt like, just coming home again. The welcome show that they had at the end of the pandemic had gone away. So it was a little less fanfare when you're going in. They still announce your names. And, we're the type that like to just kind of relax as soon as we get on board. So we head to the sit down restaurant. I believe it was Animators this time. just to enjoy a nice quiet lunch before taking a couple meetings for work in our room. So it was great. It was, it was great getting back on board, being able to, see some of the cast again. The cast is still, or they were still fully masked up. I don't know if that's still the case anymore, but none of the guests were required to wear any of those. But yeah, I mean, they still have the great lifeboat drill. What's it called? Muster drill, where you just scan your code and you're on your way. I hope that never goes away.
So there was like some rumblings that it might be going away, but when we were just on the Wonder a couple of weeks ago, we still did it through the app. So like you, I'm kind of hopeful that maybe they're going to continue it that way.
Yeah, fingers crossed, because that's a much better system than sitting out there baking in the sun on the deck.
Yeah. So you guys have been on the Dream class ships and then also the classic ships as well. Do you guys have a preference?
I know what my preference is. I really like the classic ships, Magic in particular, just because of the Aquadunk. Because it was the first ship that we were on. It was the first ship we were on as a family. Not to take away anything from the Dream class ships. They're great, but there are lots more people. It's a little bit more hustle and bustle, and there's just something nostalgic about those classic ships, even though they're not that old, but they're getting up there.
I just like the adult spaces. I think we like the pool deck area, and we really like the adult spaces on the classic ships. So we're with you there. Once again, being your anniversary, let's go back just a little bit. Did you guys plan anything ahead of time, or did you just want to you talked about like just wanted to kind of chill on this sailing? What did you plan ahead of time? Did you guys book Palo brunch or anything like that? Times in the spa?
Yeah, we did. We had a Palo brunch reservation, and that's about all we really planned ahead. We just wanted to kind of take it by, each day as it came to us, and kind of heart those things on the app that we wanted to go see, and not have to worry about if we missed anything. We'd seen all the shows. We'd been to most events on the ship before, and so a lot of those would have been were a redo for us. And so we just wanted to relax and take it easy and come back recharged rather than exhausted.
And 3 days can go by pretty quickly if you pack it in, as far as not recharging your batteries a little bit. So what kind of cabin did you guys book? What do you guys gravitate towards these days? With the kids, 6, you probably had 2 cabins normally. What did you guys get for just you and Tiffany?
We got a great rate. It was the restricted rate or something like that they just chose a veranda room for us. And it was just like a perfect spot. It was right in the middle of the ship on the 8th deck. Family ocean view veranda stateroom. So it was, one of the biggest rooms on the ship, outside of concierge, and it just worked out perfectly. And it was, probably one of the cheaper rooms that we've had in the last few years.
One of the things that somebody brought up the other day too was you said you did a little bit of work on the ship and everything like that, was just the fact that because the Magic and the Wonder have actually been through dry dock before the Dream and the Fantasy, they don't have as many like plugins and that type of stuff in the room. Did that affect you guys at all?
Not really. We always bring one of those multi-port USB outlets where we can charge everything that we need to. But like when it's just the two of us, we've got, just our phones and sometimes our watches that we needed charged. It's pretty easy and straightforward. I did have to, do a little work on the computer. So just charged it up there during the day, and it lasted as long as I needed it to.
Did you do the internet package?
No. I just tethered it to my phone while we were still in port. It made the most sense for us there.
So the Wonder I was surprised. The Wonder still has the old school,
by the megabyte.
Yeah, by the megabyte on it. So yeah, I mean, we generally unplug when we go on the ship, even when we're with the kids, just because like it's a chance to kind of get away from social media, news, whatever else. So I kind of enjoyed actually not being plugged into the internet, but I was kind of surprised about that.
Yeah, it's almost like when they have the iMessaging available, I'm like, do I really want to be able to be contacted by everyone with an iPhone? I really don't. Maybe I just won't even turn it on.
Do I really want to hear from my kids or not? Just ignorance is bliss. If I
exactly
turn it off for 3 days,
that's why we choose cruising, so you can't get a hold of us.
Exactly. I'm sure everything's fine at home.
Yeah, exactly.
Nothing's going crazy.
They have the ship's number. They can call us if they need us.
Exactly. So the two of you, before we talk about the sail away, what'd you guys do for dinner? Did you guys do the early or did you do the late? Coming from the West Coast, we found that the late is so much better.
Oh, so much better. In fact, Steve, we've never done the early seating
Even
because
with even with the kids?
even with the kids, yeah, because we get there and in our minds it's 2-3 hours early, depending on the time of year, and it just doesn't make sense for us to eat at 5:30 where it's 2:30 in our heads, or 3:30 in our heads. We like going to the shows, but that said, we always do grab a first dinner before the shows, whether it's room service or up on deck or something, just to make sure we're happy and healthy for for the show.
Yeah, just a little snack. I just feel rushed. I guess I love not having to get ready for dinner when I see everybody else rushing around like crazy, especially on that first sail away day too, to make that 5:15. And I feel like we're just sitting back, relaxing, watching the chaos sometimes.
Oh yeah, it's the best. I recommend that to everyone. Just do the late seating. I know even with little kids it could be hard, but it's so much less stressful. Like our ship was pretty full. Like it wasn't 100% capacity, but we were probably like 90% capacity. The second seating was still pretty quiet. There was empty tables around us. We weren't packed in like sardines, and so the service was really really quick. It was awesome.
Our sailing was actually the first time I've seen second seating completely full when we were just on, which kind of surprised. I mean, I know the ships are at times are getting fuller, so, but it'd been a while since I'd seen, like, usually it's like about half full lately. Let's go back to the sailway, Miami, kind of an iconic one. We've only done it once, but you get to go by all those mansions and everything else as you leave the city. Plus, I think just the backdrop of Miami as a city itself is pretty inspiring. What was that like?
We really enjoy sailing out of the port of Miami. It's beautiful. We just stood up on deck, just watched it for a little while. Then we went back to our stateroom and hung out on the veranda and just watched some of those multi-million-dollar yachts and houses as we were sailing up the channel into the ocean. It was a nice, beautiful afternoon, evening, just a great kickoff to the cruise.
How was the weather for you guys? Sometimes September, you're kind of getting, although we're recording this in November and there's actually a hurricane getting ready to hit.
I know, it seems a little late.
Yeah, Florida. I think I was reading in the news, it was like the end of November, like near the end of November is kind of technically the end of hurricane season, but normally they don't get anything this late here. But weather was nice for you guys on these 3 days.
Yeah, I mean, I was a little bit nervous about the weather, but it was absolutely beautiful the entire time. One night we did have storms around us, which provided some excellent night shots and lightning, just, beautiful lit up clouds because of the lightning around us. But we didn't see a drop of rain while we were there.
So you said you like the shows. Did you guys go on the shows this time? So the Dream has what? Beauty and the Beast, and probably they had either the Golden Mickeys or something like that going on.
They had the Golden Mickeys the first night, Beauty and the Beast the second night, and is it Dreams or Believe the third night? It's the one with the girl in the garden.
Believe,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah, that's the second time I've ever seen that show. It wasn't on our last cruise. And it's cute. It's fine. Beauty and the Beast is still just phenomenal. I mean, the AV that they have in that show, the production quality is just amazing. It's so top notch. I will say, for Beauty and the Beast, the theater was packed. You needed to get there early to get one of the most ideal seats in the center so you can have the best perspective. But the cast was, as always, just really, really talented and very, very versatile. So, Golden Mickey's is fine. It's cute. They've added a couple numbers since I've seen it last, but it's been playing since the beginning. I mean, I remember seeing it in 2001. So it's one of those long running shows. We go to the shows every single night. It's a good opportunity for us to just kind of hang out, relax, just enjoy each other's company as we're talking and waiting for the show to start, just to plan the night ahead. And I actually talked to Tiffany this time into not getting dressed up for the shows and just wearing a cover up, and so we could go on the aqueduct in between the show and dinner. So we did that a couple nights in a row. That was really fun.
And how did that work? I'm guessing there's probably nobody up there, huh?
There's no one there. It's absolutely the best time is between the seatings of dinners. We probably went on the aqueduct 4 times in the period in a 15-minute span, and still gave Tiffany enough time to get ready for dinner. So that is the best time to go.
I like it at night too, for some reason. Just there's something about the ship being lit up as you kind of get to go through the clear space of the tunnels and see everything as you kind of go sailing by.
Yeah, it's really fun.
Going back to, I think the stories aren't really, I mean, they're cute, like you said, Dreams or Believe or whatever else, but I just love the music. A lot of the different numbers that they do, like Step in Time for the one that you got to see. And then, yeah, I just think it's kind of cool that one has a couple of the older songs, and then I think it's Believe is the newer one with the kind of Peter Pan thing, and it's a lot of the newer Disney Renaissance with the Lion King and whatnot. But I do love the music. That's probably one of my favorite parts about the cruise as a way to end it.
Yeah, no, it's just such a great way to cap off the night, even though that's kind of the beginning to our night. Just sitting through that. Without our kids, it was great. We got to really, enjoy it. And there's that part in Believe where, the daughter's grown up and she finds her own Prince Charming. And I was like, no, I'm not ready for that yet. I can't. So
you start to see that play out in your own
yeah, I was like, it's a little too close to home. I was like, I want to call my little girl.
All right. Well, let's talk about dinner then. How was the food this time on the Dream, and what was your rotation like? Do you have a favorite restaurant?
I didn't before, but it turns out that it's Enchanted Garden, and it's mostly because of the appetizers. I thought they were just absolutely delicious, and I think it's the sea bass just melts in your mouth. It's got to be my favorite dish on the ships. I think it's really, really good. No, we had a great serving team. They were, like I said, they were really, really quick. They learned our wants and needs, right away. And they were really, really attentive throughout, which is always a nice plus. I believe we started I think we went Enchanted, Royal, and then Animators to finish it up.
Everybody says that Enchanted Garden is the one restaurant that they probably need to change, but so many people say that's their favorite restaurant. I find that kind of intriguing, because I love Enchanted Garden for some reason. There's not a lot of bells and whistles to it like some of the other restaurants, but I think the food is really good, and I actually kind of like the setting itself.
It's just very light, I guess is the best way to describe it. The dishes, at least the ones that I had, were very light. The Ahim Tuna Tower is just, he brought me out 3 of them because they're just so good. I was like, can I have another? I'm sorry. And then they were so great. I was like, I really love the creme brulee from Royal Court. Is there any way I could get that? And so he brought the creme brulee down for dessert that night. But no, I really like Enchanted Garden. The menu hasn't changed much since we were first on the Dream in 2012, but it's a classic.
Well, before we talk about Palo Brunch, because I know that you mentioned that you guys did that as well. One of the things that people have seen a lot of lately on the ship with the cast members is a lot of new cast members. Did you notice that at all on the Dream? As far as
I did,
cast members?
There was a lot of new cast members from other lines. Really, our server in Palo, she had spent like 10 years on the Celebrity line, and this was her first contract on Disney. And she said there was a lot of new faces like that are, this is their first contract with Disney, which makes a lot of sense. I mean, they've had to expand the line. They've had to bring a lot of people back from being furloughed for a considerable amount of time. And so there probably were some that just, chose other career paths. And so they needed to bring some new faces on.
One of the things that Christy brought up was that you make a good point with the expansion with the Wish being one factor. And then also one of the things she brought up was there was a cast member on the Virgin that wanted to come back to Disney, but because Disney, it took them a little bit longer to start sailing than some of the other cruise lines. A lot of cast members or a lot of people that had been previously cast members with Disney went on with some of the other ships. So I think
it took the first contract available.
Yeah, trying to fill that as well. So, well, let's talk about Palo Brunch. I know that you guys have been there before, I'm guessing. What was it like?
We have, and I know you've never been there before. So,
so enlighten me. Why should I go?
We were talking before, and I know you're not a brunch person, but this is it's like the best meal on the ship. And we've been to Palo dinner a couple times. Actually, we've never been to Palo dinner on the Dream before, so I can't say that I've been to that one, but we've been to it on the Wonder and the Magic. But this is our first time doing brunch on the Dream, and we planned it so it could be our lunch, and we probably could have gone the whole rest of the day without eating, but because of the amount of food that was placed in front of us, our server was so kind, and she was like, just pick what you want, but here's what I would say, start out with breakfast foods, don't eat everything, sample some things that you like, then try a flatbread, then try this and that, and then bring your entree out and the charcuterie board and everything. And we're like, I want to finish all this delicious food, but I know if I do, I will literally explode on the side of the deck here. But it was just so good. We got the classics for our mains, the chicken parmesan and oh gosh, what's the other one? I forget what it is now, but that was also another nice dish. She was very, very kind. She wrapped up some of the things to go so we could have it for, kind of appetizers before our show that night. And it was still good, even cold, with the cold pizza. That's when she also surprised Tiffany with some nice chocolates and like a note to celebrate her birthday on that part of the cruise. And then our normal waiter, our normal wait staff surprised us with a anniversary cake and some chocolate written on the plate the last night of the cruise.
That's such a nice touch, and they do such an amazing job in Palo, especially when they know that you're celebrating something like that to kind of take care of you guys. So I'm glad that they did that for you, and especially for Tiffany too. So a lot of people were a little disappointed that it's not a buffet anymore, but then a lot of people like it the way it is now. Do you have any preference as far as Palo brunch?
I actually really liked it the way it was. I mean, honestly, it was about the same amount of food that we would have, we probably would, our eyes would have been bigger than our stomachs at the buffet, and we wouldn't have finished everything, but we got everything that we wanted, except for the sticky buns. And those weren't on the menu. I don't think I could have eaten one, to be perfectly honest with you.
I think they haven't brought them back yet. That's what I've been hearing. Hopefully sometime soon. Did you go on Nassau Day, or what day did you guys go to?
Yeah, they had Palo brunch on Nassau Day.
So let's just talk about being around the ship then. It's just the two of you guys. How did you guys spend your afternoons, maybe your mornings, and then on into the evenings as well after dinner?
Well, on Nassau Day, we definitely slept in as long as we could, took advantage of that. We don't get that very often at home. It's so nice that the ship kind of just rocks you to sleep, and you don't really wake up until you hear the thrusters coming into port. So yeah, we just enjoyed the day at the pools. We did a lot of trivia and went to some of the entertainment on board throughout the day. We spent the majority of the day at the Nassau Day on the ship. We actually did get off. First time that I've been off to Nassau in at least 20 years. I've been there in a long time. It was actually on September 11th was when we were there. And we were walking through the straw market, just looking at some of the trinkets and stuff like that. And I don't know if you recall, but the government building is right there in the town center, right by the straw market. And there was a bunch of armed guards, and there was like this whole army battalion. And I was like, what are they doing? Is it like a flag ceremony or what? But they were doing a ceremony to honor the lives lost on 9/11. So that was kind of cool. We stood there and watched that for a while to see the Bahamian government kind of honor the fallen there. So that was really cool to witness. There was no one around. It was just kind of us and whoever was happened to be there at the time. But it was pretty cool. We didn't spend a ton of time in port itself. Just got off, got a few things, and jumped back on the ship so we could get ready for our brunch.
When we were there, it was about a year ago, I guess, over November, and the straw market was just starting to open. There wasn't too many vendors set up. Is it pretty full open now as far as like the spaces being filled? Okay.
Yeah, everything's pretty full. It felt even a little claustrophobic at times with I think there were 4 ships in port that day.
Are they pretty aggressive when you go to the straw market? as far as the vendors?
It didn't feel like it. No, there was none of the vendors were very pushy or anything like that. They were all very kind and, respectful. So we enjoyed it. We walked around a little bit of the city and were less than excited about what the rest of the city had to offer. But so we just jumped back on board.
It's a good way to stretch your legs before brunch, huh?
We needed it.
So on into the evenings then, what were some of the things that you guys like to do in the evenings? You take in like Match Your Mate or any of that type of stuff? Or like one of the things that we always enjoy is to go out and walk deck 4 a couple times after dinner, just to get some fresh air and all that type of stuff before we find something to do in the evenings. What did you guys like to do?
Yeah, that's very, very similar. We just like to go explore, go find a nice area outside just to enjoy the view, walk around for a little while until, one of the activities that we had wanted to do was happening. We did do Match Your Mate. That's always a crowd favorite. The first cruise that Tiffany and I did by ourselves, we actually won Match Your Mate. And
I did not know that.
We always play together in our. We're like, we don't need to do it again. We've been up on stage. It's totally fine. That the whole cruise knew our deep dark secrets, but we always play together just to see if we would have won, and we would have always won. So that's just one of the things that we like to do, is just to play in the background, and so it's not up on the open mic. That's always fun when the entertainment staff was really good. We do pub trivia at night. It was just the 2 of us on a team, but we always did, fairly well. We always come in second or third place. Never won any of them, but always, put in a decent showing for just the 2 of us.
Anawik and I could do pretty good on the random trivia, and we were going to win 80s trivia, 80s music trivia one of these days. But when it comes to the Disney trivia, forget about it. We just get crushed. I don't know what it is. That is not our niche, I guess, as far as our knowledge base goes.
We actually there was one called Ultimate Disney Trivia, which was really, really deep. Like, it was like, name Walt Disney's other 2 brothers besides Roy. And I was like, I didn't know he had 2 other brothers. But there was a lot of questions like that we actually, surprisingly did know. We did fairly good in that one as well, but still, didn't pull out the win.
That's why you got to go back on another cruise, I guess, huh?
That's why we have to go back.
To win that trivia one of these days.
Get the plastic medal.
Oh, did you see? They've changed them. At least on the Wish, they changed them up. They're kind of cool looking. So,
I haven't seen them.
I'll have to. I saw a picture from somebody sent it to me. I'll text it to you, or I'll send it to you so that you can see it as well. Well, anything else about the ship, Cobi, that we haven't talked about? Things that you guys enjoyed? Did you guys go to the spa at all, or anything, or use the workout room?
We did go to the gym every day. It's kind of, staying in the routine is always really helpful. When you're on the ship and you're consuming a double amount of calories, triple the amount of calories that you would on a normal day. But we always take the steps, always take the stairs, never the elevator. Got to burn those calories somehow. Track the steps, track the number of flights you're taking. But yeah, we didn't really enjoy. We didn't partake in the spa with the short amount of time that we had. I typically will go up and get ready for the evening. I'll take my evening shower in the spa just because it's nice and there's no one ever in there, just because give Tiffany the stateroom bathroom to get ready. So that was my extent of the spa this trip.
That is a really good tip, though, if you're fairly close or don't mind making the trek up to the spa and the workout room and everything like that. Like you said, there's generally nobody up there. And I'm not sure the Dream and the Fantasy if they've got a sauna in it, but I know the Magic of the Wonder, they have a little sauna in there as well. So
yeah, they do have a sauna in there. I didn't use it this time, but I really like the one on the locker rooms on the Magic and the Wonder. They're really nice with those the sauna, and then they've got the kind of the relaxation benches just outside of the showers there. So yeah, that's where we'd hit the aqueduct, and then I'd go shower up there, and Tiffany would go back to the stateroom and get ready.
I think Anaway called it the poor man's. She called it the poor man's rainforest room, is what she called it.
Yeah, there it is. It's my speed of rainforest room right there. I like that.
Yeah, you get your included shower, sauna, and then the places to relax as well outside. So, well, let's get to Castaway. You guys have been to Castaway several times. What did you guys have planned that day?
So we actually brought our own snorkels, fins, mask. It was our only carry-on bag. We just had backpacks and one carry-on bag for the snorkel and fins, just so we could go on Castaway. We got off as early as we could, had a nice breakfast, we like to sit down breakfasts at Royal Court before we get off. But we got up relatively early, got off the ship as early as we could, walked down to our favorite spot, kind of in between the family beaches right by Pelican Point, claimed some hammocks for the afternoon and just relaxed, listened to some books on tape for a little while. And then we did the Pelican Plunge a couple times. And then we jumped in the water to do the snorkeling lagoon, which we always love to do. And, we're from Utah. We're used to cold water. So this was like almost hot tub water for us. It was really, really warm. Usually I can't talk Tiffany into getting into the water, but this was no problem because it was so warm. The snorkeling lagoon, they've added some new features since I was there last. Sunk some new treasures for us to find between Prince Eric, Boo's Door. There was a couple others that I recall seeing for the first time. So that was fun to hunt those down.
I went there the very first time we went to Castaway. We went out and snorkeled, but we haven't snorkeled since. So I've never seen Boo's Door and some of the other ones. So
yeah, I think it's fairly new. A lot of them are still there that you'd seen the first time. The snorkeling lagoon is great because it weeds out any of the bad swimmers in the first little while, because there's nothing to see for the first 5-10 minutes when you're snorkeling. You're like, what am I doing out here? And then all of a sudden it gets really good. It wasn't crowded out there at all. So yeah, that's something we enjoy doing together is that snorkeling, and the kids love it as well when they're there with us.
Do you sail at all, by any chance? Have you ever sailed?
We have sailed a couple times. I wouldn't call myself a sailor per se, more of a boater, but we have sailed a couple times. I've heard those little dinghies are pretty fun to sail.
I love getting those Hobie cats, and if it's not a super windy day, you can get them going pretty well, and you can get some great shots of the ship and everything like that. That has been one of the things that I've really enjoyed the last couple of times we've been there.
Yeah, we've never done that. That looks like a lot of fun.
We usually do it on the way back from the ship because nobody wants to walk there and then come back to where all their stuff is. So
exactly. Yeah. I mean, we're the type that we like to enjoy the day at Castaway Cay. If you're only getting there once a year, once every other year, we want to make the most of our time there because that's one of our favorite places. And so we try and be one of the first ones off the ship and one of the last ones back on the ship. So we ate at Cookies too. We went and rented some bicycles and rode around the island, which is really fun. Spent some time at Serenity Bay. Just parked our bikes there and hung out at Serenity Bay for a little while. Just wandered out in the low tide. There's not much you can do in the water out in Serenity Bay. It's just like waist deep at the deepest. And then took the bikes back and just enjoyed the rest of the time in our hammocks and spending some time going down the water side a couple more times. But just an absolutely brilliant, beautiful day. Like almost every single time that we've gone there. Last year when we did a double dip at Castaway, the first day it just downpoured on us, and it was probably one of the most memorable experiences because the rain was so warm, and we just loved everyone hiding, running for cover, and we were just out there biking in the rain, and it was really, really fun. It took us a little while to dry out afterwards. I felt really bad for the crew that had to wash all the wet towels that night, but it was just an awesome day.
So back on board the ship, and then your last night as you guys sail to Miami, how do you guys usually end a cruise? Anything special that you guys like to do? Any like last minute things that you want to do one more time?
Yeah, I mean, we hit up the Aquadunk again, went to the shows, did a little shopping, got a little souvenir for each of us. We're not, big souvenir people, but there was a couple things that kind of drew us that cruise. Luckily, because of the reverse order that we had this cruise, we got to just really enjoy our full time at Castaway and not have to worry about going back on the ship and packing, because we knew we had NASA and brunch the next day. And so we we, just took our time packing. We typically just walk off the ship, so we don't even really have to pack up the night before. We could just wake up and go to our assigned breakfast, because it's always the latest breakfast, pack up that morning and just walk off the ship. So it's become quite nice not to have to kind of ruin your vacation by having to put everything in your suitcase and getting it outside your stateroom door the night before.
I'm just messing this up left and right. I even wrote it down, Castaway, then NASA, secondly. And I said you just got back on in your last night on Castaway. I do apologize, Cobi.
No, it's fine.
That's one of the things that if you can do it, we really enjoy that too. We just kind of try and restrict it to one. Everybody's got a backpack and then their roller bag. And so not having to rush back to pack that out and get it out in the hallways. We just do it later in the evening, or sometimes even in the morning, just throw everything in there because it's all going to get washed when we get home anyway.
Yeah, we found that we've always overpacked for everything, and we don't need to do that anymore. And we even, like, packing minimally, we only use half the things that we actually pack, because we're mostly just in swimsuits the whole time. And we not being big dress up people, so we don't dress up for pirate night or anything like that. So it's been great just to walk off with a roller bag and a backpack.
I always kind of feel bad. I do when the kids were younger. I did feel a little bit bad that we never got them really dressed up for pirate night. But I don't know, if we live closer, I mean, that's like a whole other bag or two you got to bring all that stuff that some of the people have.
It's crazy the lengths that people go to on pirate night. It's pretty awesome. And then pirate night, coupled with a Halloween on the high seas, that's like double costumes. So.
Yeah. So we didn't really talk about pirate night, but I'm assuming you guys went to go see the fireworks at least.
Yeah, we did. We actually went and saw the show. They've kind of retooled the show. It was really fun. And then the fireworks were great. We, typically we'll get up on the higher deck on the starboard side to get the best view of the fireworks. But this time we just kind of sat in the middle where the pools typically are, had a great view, and just enjoyed those. Because last time we were on, it was that, I can't remember what they called it, the happily ever after fireworks that lasted maybe a minute and 20 seconds.
Yeah.
And had to stand in your spot until everyone else around you left. And I was like, that was pretty anticlimactic, but this was a lot lot more fun.
With the Pirates in the Caribbean music and everything else, I think.
Yeah.
I do like that show quite a bit better. I mean, I love Disney music and everything like that. If the show would have been a little bit longer and under maybe some different circumstances, it would have been a little bit more enjoyable. But
yeah, for sure.
Well, you guys sailed back into Miami. Did you guys leave that day? Usually, you get back to the West Coast. Sometimes some earlier flights you have to take. But how did it work for you guys?
So our flight wasn't till that evening. Like I say, we spent a good majority of the day just over at the Omni. Got a day room there. Got some work done. Tiffany got a nap in. We met some of our friends from Fort Lauderdale. They came down to Miami. We met them for lunch. Just got to, just relax a little bit. Headed to the airport that night. We were flying back, and I actually had to change my flight for a work trip. So Tiffany and I flew the first leg together, and then I got off in Dallas and I met some coworkers and went back out the other way with them for some work stuff, and Tiffany headed back to the kids. So it was pretty seamless, pretty smooth. I'm not a huge fan of the Miami airport. It's pretty beat up, at least the terminal that we were in. It was pretty rough. Overall, the experience from getting off the ship to getting on the plane was really, really easy.
I think we talked about it ahead of time, but if we didn't, they have a fixed cab rate too. So I'm not sure how that compares with Uber, but I don't remember it being too expensive to get from the port over to the airport.
It was pretty reasonable.
Well, looking back on this cruise, Cobi, anything else that we didn't touch on, or any advice you would give others who are just traveling without their kids as far as sailing with Disney Cruise Line?
Enjoy being a couple again. That's kind of what we were going for. Is just, my wife always jokes with me that she becomes the person I married when we're on vacation together. She becomes vacation Tiff. Yeah, I miss her from time to time. So it's great to see her out again. We love traveling with our kids. We love seeing the excitement on their faces and experiencing those things with them. It wasn't our plan to leave them behind, but with the policies that were in place at the time, it wasn't going to work for us. So we took an opportunity to get back to being a couple and, spending some good quality time together.
I think it's important. I mean, I remember that was one of the things that advice we got when we first got married was to, love your kids and really work on that family, but also find time to spend time together with each other. And that's really helped us over the years. So I'm glad that you guys get to do it. And Vacation Tiffany got to come out as well.
Yeah. We want to make sure that we're still dating, because one of these days we're going to blink and the kids are going to be out of the house and it's just going to be us two again. So we want to make sure that we still like each other by that point.
Exactly. So I know you guys have the surf trip coming up down to Mexico, just north of Puerto Vallarta. Any cruises coming up or down to Disneyland or anything like that?
We just missed you in San Diego.
I saw that
down there last week, which was kind of a bummer. We were actually at the San Diego Zoo the day before you got on the ship. But we do have the trip to Puerto Vallarta for Thanksgiving. And then finally, after 4+ years of rearranging cruises, we're going to be on a family cruise for spring break at the end of March. We're going back on the Dream with we couldn't say no to the Disney Plus promotion. So we got that, and we're going to be traveling with my sister and her kids as well. So we're excited about that. We'll probably spend a couple of days beforehand in the park and then in the parks, and then drive down to Miami on that Monday for a 5-night cruise. I think it's a Western 5-night cruise. Yeah.
Nice. Cozumel probably. And then
it's Cozumel.
Well, it just sounds like a magical time for you guys to spend some time with, and nothing better than cousins getting together too. So
yeah, it's gonna be really fun. All of roughly the same ages for the younger kids, so they'll enjoy the kids and the teen clubs together, and we'll pack them in their own room in an inside stateroom across from us. So that'll be fun for them to kind of live the dream away from their parents a little bit.
No pun intended there. So
that's right.
Well, Cobi, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule to come on and talk about this. I'm glad you guys had just a great time together. And as we're kind of going into the holiday season here, I want to wish you guys all the best over the holidays and as you head down to Mexico eventually as well.
Appreciate it so much, Steve. Thanks for having me back.
Definitely. And when you get back off the Dream Cruise next spring break, we'd love to have you back on and hear all about it. I'm sure it's going to be just a magical cruise for you guys.
Let's hope so. Fingers crossed.
All right. Cheers. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks, Cobi.
All right. We'll see you.
Well, that's going to wrap up our show today. Once again, I really want to thank Cobi for coming back on and sharing his and his wife's latest cruise on the Disney Dream as they got to sail together without kids. Just a magical sailing to be able to spend some time together, especially as we're just about to celebrate Valentine's Day this year. As always, we'd like to give a huge shout out to our Patreon supporters. They help bring this show to you each and every week ad-free. If you'd like to find out more how you can support our show, you can go to patreon.com/DCL podcast and find out all the information there. If you've enjoyed this show and you know others who would enjoy it as well, we sure would appreciate it if you pass it along. Also, if you have time to go over to iTunes and leave us a review, that helps us get the show a little bit better known in the Disney cruising, and just the Disney podcasting community in general. Well, if you are headed out on a cruise, headed out with Adventures by Disney, getting ready for your next Run Disney event, Princess Weekend is right behind us here, or headed out to the parks. On behalf of myself, Steve, Christy, and Chris, all of us here at the DCL Podcast, we want to wish you to be well, enjoy time with family and friends, and we'll see you next time on the DCL Podcast. The DCL Podcast is not affiliated with the Disney Cruise Line, Walt Disney Company, Adventures by Disney, or Run Disney. All of the opinions expressed on our shows are those of the hosts and the guests who appear on the show. If you have any questions about any of these products, please contact the Walt Disney